By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, a tradition like no other, at least during football season, is, yes, folks, we still go a little bit later on Mondays because Sam Pittman meets with the media around noon. We just wrapped that up, so we're going to talk a lot about it. But, fellas, I know we've done quite a bit of hanging out over the weekend, but I mean, I don't even know. Should I even ask how the weekend went? Because I feel like I know because we've hung out the entire time.
Yeah, we were pretty much together the entire time. I'm kind of glad to, I don't know, like turn the page from the weekend to a new week. But then we have that press conference, which, hey, there's some good stuff in there that we'll talk about. But man, it was a yap fest. He had a lot to say. That was a lengthy one, and sometimes it's because there's so many questions asked by reporters because Arkansas media does it differently. But man, he was long-winded today, boys. And so here we are. But welcome to the show where we will not gaslight you.
Yeah, well, now that they don't do the Wednesday press conference, because like back in the day, it always felt a little redundant when we would do the Wednesday press conference. So I thought it'd be maybe a good thing that they don't have it. But really what that means is the Monday press conference is going to be twice as long. They're going to ask every possible question, some of which, we could have taken or leaving, but I did think that Sam, for the most part, we're very critical of his press conference performances around here. I thought for the most part he was pretty measured and had some good things to say. And I mean, a lot of it is what you would expect, but he must have listened to our show yesterday, and because he echoed a lot of kind of the sentiments that we were preaching.
Yeah, that's what we're going to go with, that he totally listened to us and took it to heart and decided to speak on it. But we'll get to some of your chats, folks, because I know there'll be a lot of that. And also, we'll get into the best and the worst of the weekend presented by the Leroy Lounge on Dixon Street, which we will be at tonight at 6 p.m. for our Inside Arkansas hangout once again. And throughout the rest of the year, Monday nights, every Monday night, should say, at 6 p.m. We're going to be there. So we'll be there tonight. So pull up and hang out with us tonight. But
Jets, Jets.
I didn't want to mention it. I don't want to turn people away. I don't want to have people be like, no, I'm not going now because of the Jets are playing. So, yeah, we'll have may have some stuff in the NFL to say as far as best and worst of the weekend. But either way, we'll start with the opening statement from Sam Pittman. He mentions some suspensions, mentions some things about particular players, and also just kind of generic recap of what happened over the weekend heading into UAB and everything. So take a listen from Sam Pittman in his opening statement today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple things. Jaden Wilson has left the team. He's going to enter the portal. He's a graduate here, and I'm proud that he's graduated from here. And if you're a graduate, you can enter the portal October 1st. So that's what he's going to do there. Desmond James, I'm suspending him this week for violation of team rules, and he'll be back next week, but he's suspended for this week. So I just wanted to open up there with that. UAB, excited to get home, first of all. Excited to play in our stadium here. Looking forward to seeing all our fans. UAB defensively is a quarters coverage team, a lot of single blitzes, 4 down line, have good linebackers. Michael Moore would be the one him and Roshaw, I think, got a really good corner in Dempsey. They had a couple transfer D tackles, got really good size on them defensively, and not complicated defensively. A lot of, like I said, a lot of single blitzes, whether it be a corner or whether it be from the safety. They play extremely hard, well coached. Offensively, Mortensen, a guy who I think he played here, if I'm correct, as their offensive coordinator, does a really good job. They do a lot. Go from empty to 13 to kind of a reverse bone look in the backfield. Want to run the football, I believe. Got some transfers on the offensive line, have some returning starters. Their center and left guard. Quarterback's a good player, transfer guy from Baylor. They like to throw it. He's a pocket guy. And then they've got a really good wideout in Amari Thomas, number 1, and then number 8 is their slide, and he also a really good punt returner. He returned one for a touchdown this year. The first game, their punter actually is Patrick Foley, who was here as a Hog for 2 years, and so we know he's outstanding there. But Coach Dilfer does a wonderful job there, and we're excited to play him.
All right, I'm sorry. I should have just cut the crap out of that one. We're off to a roaring start. So just like the opening statement. Main reason I wanted to play it is because of the suspensions in the beginning. Should have just left it at that. But anyways, just reacting to that, guys, as far as the first part, forget UAB. We'll have plenty to talk about them, I'm sure, when we do our really in-depth analysis of the Rattlers or Snakes, or I don't even know what they're called. But
Blazers?
Yeah, maybe. Blazers, yeah. That's
Blazers,
it. Yeah, something with an R in it. But yeah, so suspensions and everything there. Any reaction to that at all?
Not really. I forgot that Desmond James was on the team, so I don't really have a reaction to that. I wonder what he did, but I'm assuming it's not anything legal wise, because this fan base is really good about posting mugshots like right away. I don't know if people just set an alarm and wake up every morning and check Washington County records or whatever, but so who knows? He might have missed a meeting or slept through practice. Have no idea, but sounds like not a big deal with only a week. He's confirmed what we already knew about Jaden Wilson, and there you have it. Shout out to Patrick Foley.
Yeah, I thought Desmond James, I'd say his career highlight at Arkansas so far has been when we did our stream Thursday night of the simulation. He did get to run back one of those kicks to like the 21-yard line, so he will not have that luxury this week. Or I guess, was it last week he was suspended? So I guess, maybe he'll get a kick return here one of these days. But yeah, no big news. And we knew the Jaden Wilson thing, and so the Jaden Wilson split seems pretty amicable. So
yeah, that's true. That should be said, because that was one thing we were talking about when he made his announcement on Friday or whenever it was. Like, it kind of sounds like it's not like a bad blood type of situation, and that's good. Guy's probably a little bit buried on the depth chart and doesn't want his career to end that way. He's a grad transfer, so he can leave, go somewhere else free of penalty, and they support that. So that's good.
Maybe I'm giving too much credit to Sam Pittman, but I feel like he started with that because no one followed up about Jaden Wilson, and then he went to his filibuster of the game, and so it almost like people forgot. They're like, oh, I guess we won't follow up with it, because I feel like somebody would have followed up if he's just like at the end of his answer, like, oh yeah, by the way, Wilson left the team. That would be like, well, it's why or whatever. But I think everybody was just like, it's too late now. We'll just move on from it. So, but as far as some other players and dealing with injuries, these are actual injuries for some, because one of the ones, though, we'll start with this one, was about Cuddy. And, he was the one that got all the Oklahoma State fans fired up from his press conference a couple weeks ago when he talked about going into Oklahoma State and talking about sheer domination. Well, he didn't play on Saturday. So what happened to him?
Well, I think if you look at it, the first game, Alcorn, they were what I thought they, were going to be from last year, 3 and 4 wides, bunches, jet sweeps. And then going against Monroe, they were.
Okay, that's actually not the Cuddy clip. I was just realizing, I'm still waiting on that one. So
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait a minute.
That's on me. I named the wrong one. So instead of me trying to freak out and trying to find it, how about this? We'll just say what happened. He got a stinger in pregame warmups. And Sam Pittman was just, one of those freak things that happened. Talked about how it would have been an impact if he actually played. But either way, for those that were wondering where the trash talking Cuddy was at, it seems like it was something that happened pregame, which is really unfortunate and really a disappointing thing too.
Well, stingers suck, man, especially when they linger around like that. It's kind of scary because when it happens, like, your entire arm just goes numb and you don't really know what's going on. But like Pittman said, it usually just just like a few minutes and you're good to go. But sometimes they linger like that. I can't remember who it was on this football team. I want to say Devin Manuel, but that might not be right. But somebody who had like a stinger that lasted for a month or something.
2 month stinger.
Yeah, it was a really weird deal. But that stinks. And like, glad that it's not a big issue or whatever. Obviously you don't want to see a kid get hurt, but that's a tough look after the trash talk for him not to be available. But glad he'll be back next week, because it seems like a guy they're really going to need moving forward.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Shout out to our educated guessing skills, because that's kind of what we deduced based on the information we had of like, we saw him running around. You know, I wasn't watching Cuddy during warmups or anything, so I didn't see it happen. But like, I knew we knew he was like pretty much set to play up until the game, and we were kind of confused. So it made sense, but yeah, really unfortunate. And like, I don't think it's too dramatic to say like that might have like been. I mean, there's a lot of things that caused Arkansas this game, but it's like that was another just massive X factor that I feel like kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, where nobody really acknowledged it. But it's like Arkansas struggled to defend that one side of the field all day. Really would have liked to seen what Marquise Robinson could have done in that matchup, and it just sucks. And so Oklahoma State fans will continue to dance on his grave.
Well, and I hopefully, you know, because of my naming skills, have some of the rest of these videos, right? Or else it's going to be a really wacky type of thing. But still, some other players, though, of note, like Patrick Kudus is the other one. And I know I have this one right. But Patrick Kudus has asked about him and his status and if he's going to be playing against UAB. Well, let's hear from Sam Pittman.
I'm an optimist. I don't know if I'm optimistic about him getting back anytime soon. I don't believe he'll play this week, to be honest with you.
The dude's not playing. Like, I'm not getting frustrated with Sam Pittman. I understand it's his job. He's got to do what he's got to do. But it's just like, I feel like we've talked about this and kind of felt this way now for weeks. It doesn't look like, I'm not saying he's out for the season, but he ain't playing anytime soon, looks like.
Read the tea leaves. I think as soon as we found out that he was going to get an MRI, I said that I probably wouldn't even be thinking about this until at least that first bye week. And that's still where I'm at. Like, best case scenario. When you go get an MRI, when you openly say that you're sending an offensive lineman to get an MRI on his back, and then you're asked about it, and he says, yeah, he got it done, and you don't give any results, and then you give a response like that. I mean, it's hard to be optimistic since that was his word of choice there about where this is headed. So it's tough.
When it's a back injury to a very large human being, and it's like that just is never something that is just a quick fix of like, oh no, he'll be fine 100%. And at this point, guys, I mean, you know, like we're gonna ask about it, I'm sure, and like I'm sure people are gonna continue to ask about it every week. I think you should just wait until you hear something of like, oh, he's actually back at practice, or he's actually doing things, which could be a minute, but so don't bother coming in here Friday and being like, well, what's going on with Kudus? Like, it doesn't sound like it's anywhere close.
Yeah. After this week, we'll get the mandatory SEC injury reports. So
yeah, there you go.
We'll see about those.
I'm sure he'll be like doubtful on those. He hadn't practiced in a month. He'll be like doubtful.
Well, and it's not funny, but it's like at the same time, what makes it another indication of why it's worse than what we're at least led to believe or what we think is you can tell that Sam Pittman does not want to talk about it. Like, he doesn't want to answer it. He could have opened with talking about players because he knew that they were going to be asked about injuries, but it seems like every time he gets asked, he's kind of like, okay. He's, you know, I'm an optimist, you know, I believe. It's like, no, dude, like, we can tell just, it doesn't look good for you. It doesn't look good for you at all. But on the other side of that, though, not taking away how good he's been, but at least through 2 games, I feel like, you know, Kudus not playing. I'm not saying it's better, but it's been fine with the Marion Harris been in there, right? Like, I haven't seen any major disasters
with the Marion Harris for sure, but I think they have issues elsewhere on the line that a Marion Harris could slide around and maybe fix if you had a Kudus to go to. And then, you know, here we go again. We're in camp, you know, it's hard to say we got 5 starters or whatever. We got 8, 9 guys. We feel, no, you don't. Right now you have 5, and I'm not sure you feel confident and comfortable in 5 because if you did, they would have rotated some guys in this game where they were clearly fatigued against Oklahoma State. So depth is a concern in the trenches for me.
Yeah, I remember Curtis and I got some pushback for like calling straight BS on the whole, oh, we're going to rotate 9 offensive linemen. People were like, yeah, dude, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. It's like, dude, it's really hard to find 5 you trust, like you said, Curtis. And yeah, the one silver lining I guess you could make is, did Kudus's injury allow them to figure out that Marion Harris was good? And so if he had just stayed healthy, maybe it would have been a weirder situation where they wouldn't have known what to do, and it would have caused more shuffling, and they probably would have done something stupid like throw Amari Wiggins in there or something like that. Like, it would have just caused more confusion. So maybe if you want to be optimistic, you could say, hey, he'll come back after that bye week. He'll be the center. They know Marion Harris is good, and it'll work out perfectly. But it's really I really did not like. I haven't liked the body language from Sam anytime he's been asked about Kudas for a while now.
No.
Agreed.
No, not at all. Not at all. And we actually, all those injuries are important, but the most important one, without question, is about the status of a resident ball player named No Fly Zone, aka Hudson Clark. He went out in the game, and Sam Pittman also addressed that too.
Back. He hurt his back. He did come back and played special teams, but he didn't, I don't think he felt well enough to play defensively, but he did play on kickoff and kickoff return and a few reps on field goal block. But he's got a sore back, and we went to get an MRI today. As of this time, I haven't got the results of that, but he came in for treatment yesterday, and I love the kid. I mean, he was playing really well too on defense. Had a really nice pass breakup, but we'll see. Thank you for asking, but we'll see.
So you're talking about having no Cuddy in the game at all, and then Hudson Clark, which I'll admit, like, I know he's had some interceptions and stuff, but that play he made I think it was the first quarter, maybe, was one of the best plays I've seen him make at Arkansas, where he just broke in on the ball and and laid it out to try to tap it down. So, not having two guys that you've been able to count on in the secondary consistently, not saying that's why they lost, but that's definitely impactful. And you're hoping that you can get both of them back, if not for UAB, at least once SEC play starts up.
Well, when did things start getting weird? It was later in the game when you start to wonder about conditioning and fatigue and everything like that. And when you don't have depth, those snaps pile on and pile on and pile on. Not to mention Jalen Braxton, who missed some time during the game. As we heard from Sam, he said it was a tendonitis thing that he's battling through. And so they're monitoring him and probably taking it easy on him in practice, but that's not something that just goes away. Neither is a back injury. And it's interesting to me that he was able to come back in and play on special teams, but now he's going to get an MRI. So I don't know. Maybe they're just being super, super cautious about that, but it's a depth thing for me, man. In key spots, it seems like they've got guys who are pretty banged up and everything right now. So we're gonna find out real quick how deep this group actually is.
When you remember back in the offseason when we were like, hey, the one position or one section of the Arkansas defense that actually has some depth and some guys that can rotate in is the secondary. So if there's one thing, I guess you're glad that it was in the back end that you're having these injuries where you could semi overcome it. Because if Arkansas had an injury or two in the defensive line, they'd be screwed. Like, legitimately, they would be toast if they lost like one defensive lineman at this point. So I guess that's the silver lining, is that the secondary is the one spot you actually have options. But I think about that. Everyone wanted TJ Metcalf to, pass up Hudson Clark, which he did, by the way, and credit to TJ Metcalf for doing that. But like you said, late in that game, it's not nice to have these guys playing 85 snaps and stuff like that. It's never ideal for any position, even secondary, defensive line, or wherever. And so, yeah, you'd really like to have a sixth-year senior who can go in there, kind of a captain-like guy on your defense as well, that can fill a bunch of different spots. Marquise Robinson being in there would be also nice. And so it's like Arkansas, like what turned into be one of their one strengths on defense, is now kind of been neutralized a little bit. And you've got serious question marks up front on the defensive line. Thank God Arkansas has the best linebacker room in the country, guys.
That's right. The deepest and best
that's
ever existed.
And best position group of all time.
I want to credit Jackson Fuller with the Southwest Times for this, but I saw him tweet out, and this was interesting to me. He said that Arkansas, according to PFF, they only had 17 guys record snaps on that defense. And the lowest that they had in that regard last season in the game was 21. So that goes to show you, and it's week 2, so depth is it's a concern, man.
You don't get to lie and say you feel good about your depth whenever you do stuff like that. When you play these guys so many snaps, like, you don't get to sit there with a straight face and tell us like, oh yeah, we love our depth.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder about a lot of guys. Like what is going on with Miguel Mitchell, and where the hell is he as a guy who was brought in as a transfer? Has anyone heard from Larry Worth? Like, what the heck is going on there? We heard about Ian Jaffard and Danny Saili as well. They might be two very large men combined into one spot in the depth chart. We didn't see them at all. So I don't know, man.
He's got to get Hudson Clark back. But I mean, I can understand because, he's got those back issues for having to carry this defense as many years as he's had here at
Fair
Arkansas.
enough.
So, I mean, it's going to come back on him. That's for sure. So this was one I think that we all agreed, at least when we were listening to the press conference, about something that Sam Pittman said that was actually really good and thoughtful. And being honest, like, it was a really good answer and really went in the depth, and we can discuss it a lot further. But that's about getting the pressure on the quarterback, because Arkansas really hasn't done it that much this season.
I think if you talk about the game and you're going, okay, where defensively, where can we can get better everywhere, but you're going, what happened? We didn't get to him. Now part of that is they've got a good protecting offensive line, but we've got to be better than that. The guy was pretty clean for the entire game. Now, going into the game, we said that he gets rid of the ball extremely fast. So we said, hey, don't get frustrated if we can't, if we're not tagging him, if we're not sacking him. But he held the ball. We also said the first game that he held the ball a lot longer than what he ever did last year. So we thought, well, maybe we can get there because he's not throwing it so fast. That's one area, and I've already addressed that with Deke and yesterday, that we've got to win one-on-ones up front, and we did not on Saturday.
So for those wondering about the lack of stats there, you got, hey, Pittman's laying it out there. It's a problem. They want to fix it, and he's even talked to Deke Adams about it.
Yeah, absolutely love that response, man. For people who get frustrated by some answers or non-answers at times, that was really good. I was impressed by that. And I agree. I mean, I think it's easy to say, well, they've got that quick passing game, so it's harder to get to the quarterback, and all that's true. But like he said, Bowman was clean for most of that game. And that's why I did a story with 3 keys or 3 musts for the Razorbacks before the game. And I said, Arkansas needs to have the cleaner quarterback at the end. That dude really struggles when you get a little pressure on him. He does not feel pressure well. He does not respond well when he's got people breathing down his neck. And Arkansas just flat out didn't get to him. And whatever, the greater concern to me is they really didn't against UAPB either, and they didn't have to. Comparatively speaking to the way they dominated in other areas of that game. And then you didn't at all against Oklahoma State, who, yes, they have a very veteran, experienced offensive line, but when it comes to size, strength, talent, that ain't nothing compared to what you're going to see in the SEC. So if you're not able to get to Bowman against Oklahoma State, you're going to struggle against teams like Auburn, Texas A&M, LSU, all these squads in the SEC that you think you have a chance to beat. So definitely have to improve there. They got to switch some things up. They might have to be more aggressive with sending some blitzes or whatever, but it is a, I wouldn't say a red flag, but something that makes you raise your brow early on and say, kind of like Sam said, if there's an area they really need to improve, that's probably at the top of the list.
Yeah, if what Sam Pittman said sounded a little bit familiar, it's because it's what we've been trying to tell you guys all week. They're like, hey, Oklahoma State does get the ball out quick. They do have a veteran offensive line, but Bowman stunk under pressure all last year. Curtis, you touched on that a lot throughout the week, that you're not going to be able to sack them 4 or 5 times. You're not expecting that type of thing. But in key situations, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, especially late in the game, when you have a lead, that's when your pass rushers are really supposed to pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. And there were times where he didn't get the ball out quick. They would throw the ball downfield, and he had 5-6 seconds to throw. There were never any times where Arkansas really put him under any duress. And I was glad that Pittman kind of acknowledged all angles of it and didn't just say, oh, well, I mean, they get the ball out quick and, it is what it is. And, we had guys playing a lot of snaps. He did kind of acknowledge, this is a little bit of an issue. We didn't expect to hit him a ton, but what he saw was concerning. And so for everyone that feels the need to defend Arkansas having 0 sacks and only 4 pressures, don't. He even talked about Landon Jackson a little bit and was like,
yes,
yeah, they did a lot of stuff to try and neutralize him, but also we should have had counters for that. We should have had more twists, throw him inside, put him on a stunt, whatever you got to do. I felt like Pittman, as much as we like to knock the guy, I thought he answered some of these questions about the defensive line really well.
Yeah, I mean, they put Landon Jackson in coverage, right? One time, didn't we see that?
I'll never. And when it happened, him and another guy in the secondary collided, and it wound up being a reception. But hey, they did it.
Yeah,
that's almost like it's almost like
an excuse of well, they dropped the 280-pound guy in coverage. That's why he didn't have a sack. That's not good.
If you think it's better that I have him in coverage, then yeah, I don't know what to
It's
tell
like
you.
when it's like the way LSU used Harold Perkins at times last year. You know, after he was so dominant, just in his ears back and get to the quarterback, and then no. Actually, we're going to stop doing that.
Yeah,
That's not the gotcha you think it is. Well, the only reason he didn't make any plays is because he wasn't put in a position to make any plays. It's like it's not really the defense you want to hear.
Yeah. Well, and I know this may sound like obvious, and it is, but I've always just felt like in defenses, you can have a great secondary, you can have great linebackers, you can have whatever, but there's nothing that is more disruptive to a defense than having pressure on a quarterback. Like there's just nothing like it. Because it's something to where it really puts the quarterback to the ultimate most test. That is the most difficult thing about being a quarterback is, hey, when you got a 250, 300-pound guy coming at you at full speed and you got about 0.1 second to make a decision, what decision do you make? And when you don't have any pressure, that was my thing is, the way that Oklahoma State played in the quick passes, that's one thing. But I can remember at least 3 occasions watching it on Saturday where it was like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. I mean, the guy was out there just, waiting. And when you have a quarterback that has that type of time, he's going to get confident. He'll just be all right. I can look around. So I don't know if it's just simple as like, just click it and then boom, then it'll go and it'll all be fine. But yeah, I'm glad that Pittman acknowledges that that's a major thing to where we know the defensive line isn't just all Americans across the board, but you got one really good one and a few solid ones. Surely you can be able to get a little bit pressure on a quarterback when he's got 4 or 5 seconds back there in the pocket. That's not too much to ask, especially against a team like Oklahoma State, which good offensive line. But as you guys mentioned, if you can't do that against Oklahoma State, you think you're going to be able to do it against SEC teams? Probably not. So, but
Yep.
There for Sam Pittman. Got to give him his flowers or whatever the kids say these days. All right, so a couple of other clips there from Sam Pittman too. I wanted to bring this up because we talked about it, but the saving time on that final drive, when the issues of spiking it but not spiking it, players moving in motion and everything. It's kind of a longer clip, to be honest, about 2.5 minutes. But Sam Pittman dives into that particular sequence and what the decisions were or weren't and the lacking thereof. But he dives into it here.
2 of them on that, Trey. The first one was we ran the ball to get the first down on 3rd and 2. We got an 8-yard out of bounds and completion. I don't know what we got on that, maybe 6 or 7 yards. We got a first down. We didn't get lined up. We had some communication problem there of getting lined up. So once that happened, we decided just to kill it. I think it was on that drive. I don't think it was at the half, but so we decided to kill it. So we wasted 15 seconds from the time the play before started to the time the other one was snapped. Probably 7 is probably what we wasted where we could have snapped the football. 7 crucial seconds at that point in time. And then there at the very end of the game, we had 12 seconds left, and we could have got, when you're concerned about distance, for kicking a ball, you're trying to get as much as you can, but you're also trying to give an opportunity to kick it. And again, we were very slow with our operation on that and almost ran out of time. So we elected to, do a short route, get the ball out of bounds, try to grab another 5 yards. We had 12 seconds, but by the time we snapped the ball, we did not. We had about 6. And so it was too close and probably hindsight, we probably should have killed it. But the problem is once you get under 15, if you kill it, you're going to lose 2 or 3 seconds. And then you're going, okay, what are we going to do? But if we, in hindsight, we probably would have killed that last one and then decided, hey, are we going to try to steal 5 on them on a quick out, or are we just going to kick the field goal? And fortunately, he went out. I don't want anybody, we all know that Kyle had a hard day, but he also got us into overtime and we certainly had our chances to win the game there, even with the missed field goal of trying to get up 11.
Could you imagine if they would have dicked around and just ran all the time off the clock, like ran that last play and burned those final couple seconds off the clock, and that would just been it? Like, oh, we're just trying to sneak 5 more yards in, and oops, Time ran out because we couldn't get lined up. That one irritates me. And and listen, there's a million different factors to consider in those situations, and that was just Sam, kind of processing it all. But then you think about like, okay, these are all the things that are going through this dude's mind when he's trying to make a decision on what to do sometimes. And that's the job that you're paid for, right? I understand that. But for everybody who's, gets all upset about it, it's not as easy as you think to make the right calls there. But that was Samalytics spoken out loud is what that last 3 minutes was.
Yeah, and I mean, look, is it unfair that we put all of these things on the head coach, whether it's game management, whether it's people doing undisciplined stuff, whether it's fumbles, interceptions, penalties, whatever, we put it all on the head coach. Is it unfair? Probably, but that's the situation. Like, that's just where we're at. You get paid a lot of money to be in this position, and you listen to that clip, and it kind of makes you think, oh yeah, this guy is 6-15 in one score games, and it's these kinds of things that these games come down to. Your efficiency in these situations, the way you handle success, the way you handle adversity. And, it's not like it's all bad for Arkansas all the time, but it just feels like we're having this type of discussion a lot. And the time management / clock management has been, I would say, like the biggest deficiency of Sam Pittman as a head coach at Arkansas, just big picture, because it's really cost them, I'd say, 3 or 4 games over his tenure. They're really bad at the end of half. I can't remember the last time Arkansas has gone. I guess UAPB technically they did, but I can't remember the last time Arkansas has been playing a real team and like gone into half with momentum because they did something well, in a 2-minute drill or something like that. Anytime it's the end of game, they've had some good drives here in like late in the fourth quarter. I know they had a game-winning drive against Mississippi State, but if that clock becomes a factor, Arkansas really struggles in those situations. And it's tough to put it all on Pittman, but it's like 4 or 5 years in a row of them being really bad in these late game situations.
As much as I wanted to praise him, and we did for that, entire thing on the defensive line, like you also get a lot of that mixed in. So I get it, man. That was tough.
Yeah, the thing that I remember, I guess the only time that I really remember a final drive or a late drive that went well for Arkansas in a game was that Mississippi State game in 2021 at home.
That was the one I had in my brain too.
Yeah, that was like the one where game's on the line. You got to have a touchdown. They went 70, 75 yards down the field, scored the go-ahead touchdown. Of course, they almost gave it up. Luckily, Mississippi State's kickers sucked.
But they even left too much time on the clock in that situation because Mississippi State had a chance to win the game at the end.
True. Yeah. I mean, it was – so it wasn't even then. It wasn't even perfect. But I guess that what stood out to me, and it's about offense versus defense and depending on who you have the ball, but that was the thing that I always look back on Petrino when he was the head coach of Arkansas is that he was a mastermind at – right before the game or right before the game ends or right before half, he always had plays in mind. And again, I'm not trying to say, oh, this is all on Sam Pittman and it's not Bobby Petrino because it's everybody's at fault here. But I think that was the thing I was hoping to see this year maybe be improved was that time management offensively and having guys ready and knowing what they're supposed to do. New players, all that stuff doesn't matter. But yeah, it's when I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, okay, they just took, if you get a first down and you take 10 seconds off the clock running to spike the ball, that's unacceptable. Zero excuse for that. Zero.
Yeah, it's weird. And I see people, in the chat too, and it's a valid question. Like, okay, well, is Petrino not in his ear? Like, whatever, like who's calling the play? Like what's really going on here? I think that's the point, is that there's very clearly, a disconnect in the communication there, whether it's between Petrino and Pittman or vice versa, or the communication on the field to the quarterback or the quarterbacks to his team out there. Something wasn't right. Otherwise they wouldn't have almost burned the entire clock out unnecessarily. So, like you said, you just got to flush it and learn from it, man. Flush it and learn from it and clean it up. That's the motto. And then one day maybe they'll do that.
Well, I don't think either coordinator should be like absolved from any wrongdoing here. Like, I think that there's plenty of blame to go around. I think it's just kind of in these moments, whether it's Petrino, whether it's Pittman, whether it's whoever, Arkansas is always kind of in disarray when the game gets tight. And it's like almost like that anxiety that Pittman likely feels of like, oh crap, are we going to lose? What's going to happen? It almost goes to the entire team and the players on the field. You can almost feel they're like, crap, we're about to make a mistake. We're about to make a mistake. And like, as a nervous Nelly myself, I feel it. And so I'm glad I'm not in that situation. But It definitely sucks to see a football team that is so clearly like walking on eggshells in these tight games.
I mean, it's almost like they feel the same way the fans do at that time. It's like, no, there ain't no way this is going to happen. They ain't going to get it done.
Okay, I want to touch on this actually because Andrew makes a great point, and he always does in our comments. He said wasting over a minute at the end of the first half told me they had taken their foot off the gas. If they even get 3 points there, very good point. Yeah. I understand that they had just thrown the pick or whatever not too long ago, and Oklahoma State had just thrown them a pick back, but they had the ball at like the 30 with like a minute and 30 seconds left and multiple timeouts, and they just kind of ran the clock out. It ended up the drive stalled out at midfield, but they ran out of time when they really didn't need to run out of time. Like, and I get it. You don't want to go 3 and out and give Oklahoma State a chance and you get the ball to start the second half, but it's like, it was a 14-point game at that point. The game was far from over, and they didn't even really try to go score at the end of the game. I thought that was another example of just like weird clock management, weird decision-making in these tight games, in these tight moments where you kind of, if Arkansas goes down there and kicks a field goal and it's 24-7 going into half and Arkansas is getting the ball, fans would have literally left the stadium. There would have been a lot of people who would have been like, "Oh, damn! Like it's probably a wrap." But Arkansas didn't even attempt. It's not even that they didn't score; they didn't even attempt. They just kind of lollygagged around, and then the time ran out at midfield.
So let me ask you guys off of that. Just again, we're going to be speculating, but do you think that's maybe more of a miscommunication of Pittman and Petrino? Is it maybe a lack of confidence in the offense from Petrino or Pittman to make those plays and to do those drives? Is there something that maybe they've been seeing in practices that's like, I don't know, but this team in the 2 minutes not good, so we don't feel confident. So if we're not confident, we're going to call it a different way. I mean, there's got to be a reason why it's that way, where it's like it doesn't seem like they have an identity if they want to step on the gas and slit the throat, or if they just want to be conservative. It doesn't seem like there's really a identity there on how they want to handle those situations.
Well, hell, they're averaging 1,000 yards of offense per game, so they should have plenty of freaking confidence in them, But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's maybe there are philosophical differences between how Pittman would conservatively approach these situations, and maybe Petrino wants to really go for it. I don't know. I'm like you said, we're just kind of speculating. But it just feels like if they were on the same page, the execution in those situations would be a lot better, because frankly, especially with that situation in the first half, every single play, with the exception of that unfortunate pick six, was dominant from the Arkansas offense. I mean, they were getting chunk plays. 3rd and 17, whatever, hand it off, run up the middle, you'll pick it up. Doesn't matter. You've got like 300 yards more of total offense in them, 0 resistance from Oklahoma State. But then all of a sudden you get in that situation and it just all of a sudden it looks clunky and awkward and confused almost. So yeah, it's got to be a communication thing. I don't know where the breakdown is, but it's hard to say anything other than that.
It feels like they're scared to make mistakes, which is fair. You don't want to make mistakes, but I just think back to all the times where Sam would go for it on 4th and 1 and they would not get it. And then he'd go to the post game and be like, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that." He would kind of like admit, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Should have." And he's got this like in his brain of like, he doesn't want to do the thing where, because I mean, to be fair, if they had thrown a pick 6 on that last possession in the first half, we would have all been like, "Oh man, what an idiot. Why had you do that?" But really, you can't go about it that way, trying to avoid the mistake, rather than going out there and trying to put the game away, trying to win the game. It's like when they get big leads, and we've seen this a lot in the last 5 years, when Arkansas gets big leads, they go into try not to lose mode more so than let's win this game, let's put this out, let's keep the foot on the gas. Look, I'm not saying they're like, hey, that's the one reason why Arkansas, there's plenty of reasons why Arkansas lost the game, but it's hard not to look back and realize like, oh damn, they could have been more aggressive in these situations.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember if it was a coach that told me this or maybe just somebody who sounded like a coach. I don't know, but in those situations, they always discuss it like, hey, everybody is going to be confident in themselves, and everybody is also going to be scared of making a mistake. He's like, but it's about which one outweighs the other, and that's usually what, everybody's going to be scared. They can say it all they want, but there's going to be that element. But are you more confident in yourself and getting the job done, more confident in your team? That outweighs your fear. That's kind of where I'm at. Was like, yeah, I think the team's confident. I think they have it, but maybe that part is outweighing it because of it being on their mind, or because they're not settled in the way. I don't know, but it's certainly something to where, let's be honest, guys, there's going to be a lot more times where Arkansas is going to be in that exact situation before half, or even with the game on the line against teams on the road, even it's like you can't just hope and pray. Hey, let's just hope and pray that we're not in that situation because then we'll screw it up. It's like, no, you're going to be. You have to do it. You have to get it done, and they just didn't, and it was not great.
I mean, you say who we expect to score every time we touch the ball. It's like you clearly didn't expect to score before the half, and if you had scored on that drive or the drive after the half, either one of those, you score there, the game's over. They didn't score, the game was not over. You eventually end up losing the game. Where how many times we talk about it? If you score, if you're that, because we say you should kick to start the game so you have the chance to do the halftime score thing, because it's like a 92% win rate when you do that. Arkansas didn't score on either, and if either one of them had happened, we're not having this conversation.
Nope, not at all. I wanted to play this clip really quick too, because I just like the sound effects and the way that Sam Pittman did it when talking about the missed field goals and what was going on there about hitting the ball. It's pretty great.
And the problem is we weren't hitting the ball. If you hit a ball, it goes like that, and if you miss it, it goes and we weren't hitting it, and that's probably played into it a little bit more than even right or left. If you're not hitting it, you got more problems than just direction, and we just weren't hitting the ball.
So I
didn't hit the ball.
Okay.
Or this, so I was like, well, no, I mean, it's true. And he is right, but it's just funny to hear it explained that way. Like, that's why.
I think that clip is actually from post game of the SEMO back in June.
Yeah. Just weren't hitting the ball.
We just weren't hitting the ball, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd say just clip that and then make it into baseball season half the time.
I will say, on a serious note, though, that's why everyone asked why they didn't go for it or why they didn't kick the second field goal. And we said it at the time. That first attempt that Kyle Ramsey had, it wasn't like it was. He missed it by only like a few yards, but it looked way worse than it actually was.
It was off target and kind of short. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he almost didn't have the distance for a 41 yarder. And I think that, what Sam just kind of described there tells you what was going through his head. And then at the end of the game with 2 seconds left, again, because they wasted so much damn time, they had no choice but to kick it. So I believe him right there. That's probably why they didn't kick the ball the second time, is because can't hit the ball.
Yep. You got to hit it, and it's got to make the right sounds whenever you do it, and rotate the right way. So wanted to bring that up too. But I know we'll have some other things. We'll get into your chat, folks. But I want to remind everybody that here at Inside Arkansas, we're, of course, brought to you by Alumni Hall. Very great people over there at Alumni Hall that's partnered with us throughout not only football, but basketball season as well. And they have all the Razorback apparel you could possibly ask for. They got everything. And if you go to their website at alumnihall.com, you can see exactly what they have to offer, whether it's polo shirts, whether it's jerseys, whether it's for the men, for the women, for the kids. They have it all. And it's also the highest of quality type stuff. It's not just where you go into some resale shop and be like, oh, that shirt's red. I can't wait to wash it so it turns to be pink as soon as it happens. No. They got the high quality stuff like Johnnie-O, Peter Millar, Columbia, Nike Golf, everything. They have it available right in their store. And it is set up for you for all Razorback apparel. So check it out today. You can go to alumnihall.com. You can also visit their location that's conveniently located right here in Fayetteville at 3417 North College Avenue. It's Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping destination. All right. So a few people in the chat that we'll try to address some, not all, because some of you are mean. But let's go ahead and do this one, the latest one. Carl, he says, who do you think called the last play?
I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I love Bobby Petrino as much as the next guy. If we are trying to talk ourselves into the idea that Sam overruled him and called the last play of the game, we are living in absolute fantasy Looney Tune candy cane lane. That's just not what happened. Bobby Petrino called the play, and it wasn't a bad play. They just had the wrong running back in there. I don't know. I would assume the guy who calls 100% of the plays called that play.
Yeah, I would agree there too. Also, Jeff was talking about with the kicker situation is why not go with the transfer from Hawaii?
They should have. And they probably will Saturday.
Yeah, they will. I mean, guys, we were all, if you've been watching the show, like we were stunned whenever that first game happened and Kyle Ramsey went out there to do the kicks. We even said, like, why is there an or on the depth chart? We hadn't heard Kyle Ramsey's name in weeks. Obviously, we're not at practice watching these folks hit the ball, but yeah, we were surprised by that. I mean, man, now Matthew Shipley had his struggles this offseason, but it seemed like he won the job in camp, and then we get to the games, and it's a little bit different. So, I imagine you will see Matthew Shipley Saturday.
Yeah. And if you go to InsideArkansas.com, you'll see the full depth chart, and Ramsey and Shipley are also at an or. So
back in or territory.
I think that was the only change.
Yeah.
Well, the two changes on the depth chart, they took Jaden Wilson off that third string receiver,
Yeah.
and they added the or back between Ramsey and Shipley.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Because even Hudson Clark, I was thinking that he would be sitting at an or still, and he's not. He's second string, so probably dealing with a little bit of his injury. But yeah, not too much change there.
He's been surmounted.
Yes, he has. And it's a shame too. It's just a dadgum shame. Let's see. Hayden was coming in and talking about the Kudus. He says, wouldn't be surprised if it's a stress fracture for Kudus. Played offensive tackle in high school and missed a season due to that as well. Just lingers and lingers and lingers.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, and it could be right. It could be something like that. It could be a disc issue. It feels like if it was muscular, that's something they would maybe have a handle on by now. Like if it was just back spasms or whatever, because you see that a lot with offensive linemen too, because they're, heavy in the front and they usually have tight hamstrings that pull, and that gives you that low back pain. It's kind of a classic onset of that, but I think they're beyond something like that, unfortunately. So who knows? We'll never know what that MRI said. And it's really none of our damn business, but you'd like to have at least a little more information.
We just know it happened.
Yeah, it transpired at some point in time. Don't even know if they got the result. Maybe, or we could, for all we know, it could have the machine messed up and it actually didn't get any results, but it happened. It took place. So yeah, who knows what's going on there? But a few other ones too. Jay, I guess we talked about this already, but he says, please talk about the field goal situation. Not going for the field goal showed no trust in the kicker or that defense as well. Shows that other teams are just going to keep us outside the 40. Okay, but based on that, this will be great because we'll play this clip from Sam Pittman and talking about the decision on that as far as going for it instead of kicking the field goal.
Just, you had 7 minutes left in the game. I don't know that we'd had many plays at that point in time that didn't go for 5 yards, we were tied. Obviously, in my mind, we just missed a field goal from the same distance. It was going to be about 42. We were on 25. And it wasn't a slow decision. I was thinking about it. Now, the only thing I didn't tell Bobby he had 2 plays. I didn't say that. But right when we went to 4th and 5, I said, let's go for it. And I just felt at that point, if we score, we put a hell of a lot of pressure on them. If we don't, they still have a long way to go. Our defense has been playing pretty good. And I'll be honest, I've been here a long time, and I've second guessed not as much as everybody has, but I've second guessed myself a lot as a head coach here, and I think every coach does. I'll be honest with you, that one I do not. That one I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I thought we could really get some momentum there. And I thought our chances of making a 4th and 5 were every bit as good as making a field goal. And if we did, I thought we could get to 7 and really put pressure on Oklahoma State.
All right, let me just say, I actually fully agree with Sam Pittman on the decision. I thought it was the right decision to go for it and all that. But I also like the fact that he was like, I've second guessed it, probably not as much as most people second guess me, but he's like, I don't second guess that decision. I absolutely wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm with him on that. It sucks to be Kyle Ramsey, man. Like, imagine hearing that where the coach is like, hey, I felt our chances of converting a 4th and 5 were just as good as a chip shot field goal. So,
And so, okay, there's a lot here. One, I thought it was a fine decision to go for it for that same reason. I thought that the first kick was so shaky that I'm like, I don't know. Why did he admit that he didn't tell Petrino they had 2 plays? Why would he admit that publicly? Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell Bobby that we were going to go for it on 4th down because, I don't know, tight game, that kind of matters, on 3rd down, on 3rd and 5. It matters. If you're going for it on 4th down, your play call is just different. I don't know why he speaks too much sometimes. He just gives us too much information and admits that he second guesses himself all the time. Which again, I kind of on one hand appreciate the honesty, but on the other hand, as someone who's almost trying to defend Sam Pittman, I'm like, shut up, just stop talking. But yeah, I again though, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and be like, oh yeah, no, they should have kicked it. I thought I was fine with him going for it. Frankly, after seeing the first kick, I was like, they probably should have went for it the time before that. But yeah, you got to let your OC who's calling the plays know that he has 4 plays to work with.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Pittman, where it's like, man, it's a good answer, but you're not doing yourself favors
No.
when it comes to that element. But still, for those of you who are wanting to know in the chat as far as what in the comments of what about that decision, there you go. That's what the decision was, and that's why. Also like this from Evan. He says this is going to be the type of year where we beat someone like Texas, but only win 5 games. Like
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I could totally see that because I mean, dude, you see Arkansas play, like they're going to have a chance to beat someone they're not supposed to beat. I don't know. Texas might not be the team because they're nasty, but like they're going to be able to move the ball against a lot of teams. Like they're gonna be in a position to win some of these games. So yeah, you could talk me into that, but you could also talk me into the 5 wins still.
Yeah. Well, it's like I look at the rest of the SEC, which I know we'll get to, but it's like I see it. It's, Auburn losing at home to Cal the way they did, where they were behind the entire time and couldn't do anything offensively. So that's the thing is like Arkansas does a lot of good things. They just don't like it's the timeliness of it all. That's the problem. There's no problem in you can overcome certain things. You can overcome a muff punt. You just can't do it that late in the game with it's on the line. It's like you can overcome penalties. But you can't overcome a penalty that's with the game when you're about to be 3rd down and long when you're suplexing somebody. Like it's the timeliness of this team that ends up being a bigger issue than anything. So
they should have done all the stupid stuff against UAPB and done all the cool stuff against Oklahoma State, in my opinion.
Yeah, should have scored 70 points against Oklahoma State instead of UAPB. So, but also, what do you guys think? And this is something we can discuss, but like the people keep bringing up the Rodney Hill. And him being like running back number 2, he's tiny out there. I know that he got the play or the run on that 4th down play, but I mean, you talked about Braylon Russell and also saying that he was wanted to play him. He was supposed to play him, but he just didn't.
If you wanted to play him and you were supposed to play him, you would have played him.
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Because and then now look, this is another thing where Pittman talks too much, where it's like he always says, "Oh well, we wanted to play this guy and we should have played that guy." And it's like you choose who you play. They have a meeting every Friday when they decide, here's how we're going to disperse the snaps. Here's who we're going to play. Again, now I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, hey, yeah, I don't like Rodney Hill as the number 2 back. Like I don't have a problem with Rodney Hill as the number 2 back, but I did have a problem with him being in there on that last play of the game. And I know you could say, hey, well, you don't want Braylon Russell's first snap to be, in 4th and 1 with the game on the line. Well, then it shouldn't have been his first snap.
Shouldn't have been. Exactly.
Right. It shouldn't have been his first snap. He should have had 4 or 5 carries at that point. But in terms of Rodney Hill, it's not, I'm not going to hold this against Rodney Hill. I think Rodney Hill is who he is. He's a guy that can help them. We like Rodney Hill. I mean, he can catch passes out of the backfield. He's athletic, make people miss, change a pace back. But the way they dispersed the carries and the way that they did it, it just was a weird time to use the receiving back on 4th and 2 in a tight, short yardage situation.
Yeah, that wasn't a good move. But I kind of felt the same way, and it just made me wonder: was this maybe one of the deals where Petrino had put it out there, and what the coaches mean, he's like, hey, these are who we're going to play and everything. Pittman's like, okay. And then when Petrino didn't play him, and he comes in the press conference, he's like, well, I guess we were supposed to, but I guess he's almost like saying maybe Petrino did and I didn't. I don't know. I just wonder how much say that Pittman has on who goes in the offensive schemes and the formations. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know.
The way it works, John, is every good decision that Arkansas made on offense, Petrino.
Gotcha.
Every bad decision, Taylon Green, Sam Pittman.
Got you. Okay. Just want to make sure we could clarify that and make that one make sense. Now, thanks for clearing that up. Because like you got like Bishop Boy here. He's like, if I were Pittman, I just let BP run the show and keep my mouth shut. Really
That's
obvious.
Petrino
back.
Of all the ways to critique Sam Pittman, and there's plenty. I mean, we've been doing it here a lot here these last few minutes, but it's like that is exactly what is happening. Like he is letting him run the show offensively. Like there is no like pulling of the rug, like tug of war going on with the offense. Like this, Sam Pittman is not running the Arkansas offense.
No, not in any stretch. We'll say though that Finch also brings this up. He says, all negatives aside, who's been a good surprise for y'all this year?
I mean, Taylon Green, can we say that? Like, look, I thought Taylon Green had a chance to be pretty good. I thought he was better than he showed at Boise State, but I don't know if I knew he was going to be this dynamic and like have, because I think there's going to be, you can see with Taylon Green, he's going to bail Arkansas out of some situations. I guess just overall, he's been a little bit better than I thought he was going to be, which is saying something because I thought he'd be pretty good.
TJ Metcalf.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody expected him necessarily to emerge as a starter and have a dozen tackles against a top 20 team on the road, second game of the year, and he's been good.
Yeah, that's fair for sure.
Yeah, I know like he had a tough play against with the penalty, but I think Xavier Sori's been pretty solid so far at times. He's still got the mistakes that go on, but still overall pretty solid. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. Go see my boy Clayton. So he'll get you taken care of and squared away over there at Davis and Garrett Insurance. So we've talked pretty much about all the football side of things too for the updates and everything. And Curtis, I want you to set this one up because I know you tweeted about it and we got the chance to watch it. Former Razorback basketball Chris Likes went on TikTok and had some interesting things to say about his time at the Razorbacks. But I want to ask you before we play the clip, like, is it something somebody sent you, or is it something that just you came across while scrolling on the internet?
Yeah, I just saw it on the internet, man. Doom scrolling.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what Chris Likes was about on his explanation on some things, especially in his time here at Arkansas.
I'm bored. So we're going to talk about what happened at Arkansas. A lot of you, most of you, remember me from my days at the University of Miami, where I did 4 years and I graduated. I'm proud of that. But in terms of basketball, my senior year, I had a season-ending injury 2 games into the season. So I had missed the entire year due to a severe ankle injury, right? We're not going to waste any more time on that. That can be another story of what happened with that injury, but some funny stuff happened, and I had decided to enter the portal. Now, mind you, I was in the portal for 2 weeks. The portal had just become a thing this year. Not going to lie, I definitely had some schools that was on my line. I had UNC, Maryland, Georgetown, Wake Forest, but it really came down to USC and Arkansas. USC would have been smooth, but I was just ready to focus on my last year of basketball in college. I was just coming from Miami, so why not go to Arkansas? And plus, if you know, Muss is a great recruiter. Like, he had everybody on staff calling me all day, every day, showing me exactly how I could fit into the program. But that wasn't even the main reason. The main reason was this guy right here was on staff. Yeah, Earl Boykins. Now, if you know me, I'm 5'7" with dreams of playing in the NBA. He was 5'5" in the NBA. It makes perfect sense for me to go learn from him. I packed my stuff. I drove from Miami all the way to Arkansas. Bro, the day I get there, this man proceeds to tell me, yeah, I'm out of here. So from that moment, I knew this season probably wasn't going to go the way I thought it was going to go. This is supposed to be my bounce back year, right? Like, I just missed a whole year. I get a 5th year. I'm about to go crazy in Arkansas. Mind you, COVID is still doing its thing, right? I had zero interest in getting vaccinated. I didn't understand it. I didn't want no part of the vaccine. And I was the only one on the team. When I really stood on it and said, I'm not doing it, I didn't see the floor the rest of the season. I was on the bench, bro. So that's what happened. But at the end of the day, man, I'm grateful. Like, I wanted to be in the tournament again. I wanted a chance to play in March Madness. We made it all the way to the Elite Eight. So I was definitely happy about that. I met some really cool guys. I got to play with some really cool guys. So, yeah, that's the story.
All right.
Well, okay, this pisses me off for a number of reasons. One, because I defended Chris Likes quite a bit during his time at Arkansas. And there's just some things there that aren't true. I'm sorry. They're just not. First of all, saying that the portal had just become a thing, that's just, I mean, just factually inaccurate in so many ways. So like, I don't even know why that was a factor in the conversation there. That was kind of a weird statement to make. Arkansas chose Chris Likes over Xavier Pinson, if you guys remember that name, which I don't know that it would have been any different had they had him either, but whatever. I don't know, man. And the other part about it, like the Earl Boykins thing, that sucks. If you commit for a particular assistant or whatever, and then you get there and he dips out, that happens all the time. It's not great, but so you just chose to pack it in at that point. Like, oh, I knew right then that this wasn't going to go the way I wanted to. That's on you. If you really felt that way, and if that changed the way you approach things and your attitude or whatever, that's 100% on you. You had your opportunities also. Like, Muss was riding with you heavily early on. There were times where you were in the starting lineup, and I'm sure that this had nothing to do with you not being able to defend at the SEC level or forgetting how to make a 3-pointer or turning it over every other time you touch the ball. No, it had nothing to do with that. It got to the point where Arkansas and Eric Musselman had to start JD Note and 4 power forwards because they didn't have another guard on the roster who could get out there and function. But you're going to blame it on the COVID vaccine? Come on, man. Come on now. And the interesting thing about it is I heard from, we'll call it an anonymous source last night, that Chris Lykes was not the only person on the roster who didn't have the COVID vaccine. In fact, there was someone on that roster who was also unvaccinated, who was a starter and played a huge part, and I'll let you connect the dots, in why Arkansas was able to beat Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 and advance to the Elite Eight. And he wasn't the most talented player, probably wasn't one of the most 5 talented players on the roster. But boy, he didn't get the shot, and he was still out there starting and playing big minutes, whatever. I mean, that's crazy. And then, like, do you think nobody watched the rest of the season? Oh, yeah, I stood on business, and then I didn't play the rest of the year. You were the guy that they put in at the end of every damn game because you were the only one who could make free throws. The only reason your role wasn't any larger than it was because your shortcomings on the basketball court had nothing to do with that other stuff. That's crazy. I'm really disappointed to hear a lot of that. That's nuts, man. Pisses me off. It really does.
Curtis,
I like Chris Lykes. He's a good kid. He's a good dude. And I felt bad for the way things went for him there. But that's crazy, man. Come on now. It's better than that.
So, Curtis, in your expert opinion, do you think him being a 34% shooter and a 28% 3-point shooter had anything to do with with him not playing? Would you agree there?
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Well, and also, and I hate to ruin Chris's fairy tale here, but like, he's like, oh yeah, they stopped playing me, and like I stood on business, and then the team won like 14 of 16 games or whatever, and like went on a great run. And so it's like it's hard to be like, yeah, they just had it out for me. They chose going to the Elite Eight over playing me. It's like, yeah, it's kind of how it works. Like Joseph Pinion could make a TikTok in 2 years and be like, they just chose to play better players over me, man. It's complete bullshit. It's like, I don't know. It just is it's very interesting. And it's like, there's a lot of revisionist history going on. Like, look, if there were players from last year's team who wanted to like make this type of video and be like, yeah, it's crazy, I wasn't getting more run or whatever. Yeah, because last year's team sucked. You could make that argument. But it's like Arkansas, no disrespect to Chris, went on a huge run after they kind of phased him out of the rotation. So it's hard for me to like lose sleep and be like, did they give the 5'7" point guard enough run? I don't know. It just doesn't work. And I'm with you, Curtis, because I like Chris Lykes. Like, I think he's a good dude. Like, he seemed to enjoy being a Hog. And I like that he even said, like, hey, I still don't regret going to Arkansas. Like, I had a good time there. Like the guys there. But, yeah, it's extreme. This is revisionist history to the, like, 10th degree.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on now. And then you were literally still the guy. I mean, like, you won Arkansas a number of games down the stretch of that season because you were put in there because you were the only person who could get open against a press with an Eric Musselman press breaker, which is like his Achilles heel for whatever reason. And you would just get the ball and dribble around until they fouled you. And then you were clutch at the free throw line. And so that was great. That became your role. And that was your contribution to what was a really good team. And the reason it didn't work out for you beyond that was for so many other reasons besides what you laid out there. That's come on, man.
Yeah, I was laughing when I was listening to that because the plays that really stood out to me was, of course, he was a really good free throw shooter, but he didn't make him against Vanderbilt at the end of the game. That was tough. But then the 3-pointer that he took before halftime against Duke in the Elite Eight game, where there was plenty of time left on the clock and Arkansas could have ran it out, but instead he fires a stupid 3, misses it, and Duke goes down and hits a 3 to increase their lead by even more. But also, I remember the play he had against Texas A&M at home. I think went to overtime, and he made the 3, but it was a horrible decision, and there was no reason for him to take it, and it could have been costly if he missed it. So it's just like, I don't know. I like Chris Lykes too, but the whole thing with the COVID vaccine and all that stuff, it's almost like he's using that because he knows it's something that a lot of people are like very passionate about, but there's also no way that anyone's going to like come out and say one way or the other, like saying that, oh, well, Muss is not going to make a statement or anybody be like, that is not true about the COVID vaccine. Like, no one's going to do it. So there's no backing up, but it's a safe thing to kind of be like, well, that's how they've rolled, but I was over here rolling it like this. That's the way I took it, but it was. I
also love the idea that Muss would be like, what, this guy took, he won't take the vaccine. So like, I'm not going to play him, but We need these free throws, so I'm going to play them now.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it,
give them
it doesn't even
opportunities
make
here and
sense.
there.
Right.
It's funny.
And then
Yeah.
consider where you're at geographically, and then talk to me about being punished for not taking a shot. You know, like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. That was I don't know, that was pretty funny, I think, just hearing that. But the chat likes it when Curtis gets fired up, apparently. They're all here for it.
Man, you guys have the battles I went through defending that dude the entire season. And even when it wasn't work out for him, I was just propping him up all the time on, hey, nobody else can get open against the press. Hey, who else do you trust more than this at the free throw line? Oh, if he didn't go 10 for 11, in the final minute of this game, where would Arkansas be? Over and over and over. I stood up for him. And then for that just, man, kind of makes me feel like a jackass. I don't know. I hate
We
that.
will always
Really do.
remember that Kansas City trip, though.
Yep.
We will.
Yep. Was that was the one
MVP runner-up behind Audice Tony in my eyes.
Was he the one that got he was the one that the announcer just kept like ripping, right? The broadcaster kept ripping Chris Likes, just how awful he was. I think that was that Kansas City trip. Could be
Could
wrong.
have been.
Yeah. But yeah, that was something. And also too, going back to the whole Muss point, just knowing Muss and the competitor, I'm just being honest. I also don't think he would have been like, you're really good and you can help us win, but you didn't get that vaccine. So
Eric Musselman was given like 35 minutes a game to dudes that he physically hated.
Yeah.
Like guys that he couldn't stand, guys that he was butting heads with, who would get in his face and cuss him out. Like, he did not bench him for that. Come on, man.
Muss would have played Adolf Hitler if he could defend the wing pretty well.
Right.
Like,
I mean, come on.
Oh, man.
He brought Makai
true.
Mitchell back for another year. Like,
he let Kamani Johnson do foul things at the University of Arkansas routinely, and he still gave Kamani chances to play.
Crazy, man.
Oh, well, like I said, revisionist history there for Chris Likes, but definitely had to bring that one up. Man, that was funny. Hopefully this opens up to where more former Muss players make TikToks about stuff that's not true. So, we can react to that.
Keon Minifield, just do a mixtape that is telling your version of your time at Arkansas. We will listen to it.
I love the music that he had in the background too. Like, it was almost like this somber 30 for 30 music. It's like he chose
playing
that.
Practice clips.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is this?
It's like, dude, we've all used CapCut. We know how long that stuff takes us to put together. Like, geez.
Oh, that took him an hour and a half minimum. Like, I'm telling you, he was chopping it up.
Oh man. So yeah, that was great. Stripius is over here saying, "Hey, Curtis yelled at me one time and it made me so sad so I know the feeling." Like, oh,
I remembered it was because he tried to say that Curtis said the Big 12 and the SEC were similar.
Oh, that's right.
Dang, man.
Come on. Also, Timothy says, "Love it when Curtis rants, preach, sir." And then High School Men Juleb's like, "Hey, don't hold back, Curtis. Tell us how you really feel." You're like, Curtis is out there doing this. And then we also have a shout out to Trey Wade.
All right, come on.
Just cuz.
Always shout out to
for any
reason. Shout out to Trey Wade.
We actually discussed Trey Wade on the way down to Stillwater, or up to Stillwater, discussing random former Razorbacks. We did discuss Trey Wade.
Yeah,
random former Razorback basketball players who never really profiled as NFL players, but tried anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's what we were talking about.
We should have just recorded our conversations. Well, actually, we shouldn't have. Actually, we shouldn't have not done that, because then post it, we probably all get in very much trouble. We'll get the best and worst of the weekend here in a second. But shout out over here to Jack Sanders Music. Thanks for the sponsored comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
He says, "Hi guys, sending this chat to support the channel. But did anybody notice how Satania didn't push Rodney to get the first on the second to last play?" I'll be honest, I didn't even pay attention to that part, so I can't speak on it. I have to go back and watch that play. So
I didn't notice it, but we'll also just add that, like, I don't know if Satania is the guy you want trying to push the pile. It's like 165 pounds. So, did he mail it in? I don't know. You could, I'll have to go back and look at it, but yeah, I did not notice that.
Yeah. Because, a pile is, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, that never crossed my mind, actually. I feel like he just got stuffed and it was over.
Well, I was about to say, because I'm like, here's
second to last play, actually. So then again, I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say, because here's the thing about a pile. It's not like you're pushing a player. Like, a pile is like, 3-4 people that weigh 250 to 300 pounds a piece. So I just don't think he'd be able to dead press that or anything like that. So yeah, I think of all the things to notice from that game, that's really low.
I'm
on
gonna
the
go look
list.
though.
Yeah, but it's good. Specific
Tucker says he
stuff.
noticed it. So
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Satania, do better. This is like when Cam Newton didn't fall on the fumble in the Super Bowl and he like didn't dive for it and everybody was like was getting on him for it.
Yeah. It's like there's so many things I watched back on that game and I really didn't want to, but I did. And that was definitely one of them. So I have to go back and check. All right. So we just got a few minutes here left. So let's go ahead. Since it was a big weekend, we'll get into the best and worst of the weekend presented by the Leroy Lounge. I'm going to get that right one day. But we appreciate them being a sponsor of us here at Inside Arkansas. Again, we're going to be there at 6 p.m. tonight doing another Inside Arkansas hangout. So come out and hang out with us because we're going to be chilling there and we're going to be watching or getting ready for I don't even know if we can say it, but I'm going to say it. The game tonight, the big game that everyone knows about that's being played tonight for professional sports.
Why could we not say it?
Because the NFL like owns everything and they'll like come and find you if you say something. So anyways, I'll say it. And if I go missing, you'll know why. Monday Night Football. It's happening tonight. So come on out as we're going to be live streaming. And rumor has it our intern Reagan is going to be making her debut. Sickos out there. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun though to talk with them and have a lot of the fans come out too. So best and worst of the weekend. I'll go ahead and kick us off with my best of the weekend. Listen, I wanted to talk like I had a lot of them, and I wanted to be like, the weather was really nice. But I'm like, that is the worst best to lead off with would be talking about the weather. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to give credit where credit is due to some teams that was able to get it done in the college football rankings and ones that I really wasn't sure about. Like, for instance, Texas. The one that I didn't think Texas was going to win. It's not that I didn't think Texas was good, but they showed up and they did their thing. They did exactly what was expected out of them. I know Michigan's not great. I still think they're solid. They're always going to be solid, but to go into the big house and just sheer domination from beginning to end is not easy for anybody to do. So shout out to them in Texas getting the job done and having a big win there in the big house.
Yeah, that was really, really impressive, man. I picked them to win and cover, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be like that. And the thing about Michigan is I think that they've taken a step back, obviously offensively. Quarterback situation is weird there and everything, but they're still like equally just nasty on defense. And it didn't matter. And I think there's like this perception out there that, like they're just the big physical Big Ten team or whatever. And then Texas maybe more finesse. But Texas kind of like out physical them in that game too, which kind of scares me a little bit thinking about Texas, because that's really not what I remember from the last time they came down to Fayetteville. It just goes back to the point that it's going to be a very different Texas team that Arkansas sees, but that was impressive. Mine, I mean, I've got to go with Northern Illinois. That was awesome, man. To after Notre Dame, talk about a trap game and a letdown and everything like that. But to beat Texas A&M on the road the way that they did, and then just lay an egg and get beat by Northern Illinois, that was really, really cool. But the best part about it was their coach afterwards. Did you guys see that, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thomas Hammock. It was like a 3-minute interview with just his emotions getting the best of him. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but I got a small clip of it because people need to see this. It was really awesome.
I'm so proud of our kids, the coaches, and everybody. They believe. They believe. And we can't get that enough.
It makes you feel good, man.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I saw someone say what makes college football or college sports special is every weekend there's one team that's playing a game that they'll never forget the rest of their lives. And frankly, like NFL, I know there's games that happen where, you'll never forget, but it's like you don't have people that are truly living and dying with the results the way that like that guy. I mean, you see how much it means to him. And it's just that's what makes college sports what it is, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about like, we're all trying to be manly men that don't cry. But it's like if it gets you something like that, it's like, man, that's the man cry that'll get you. That's when guys cry. That's when it gets sad, when you see coaches care that much and have that big of a win and how much it means to them. That was really awesome.
That's cool.
Did y'all know Notre Dame is one of 5 FBS teams to not throw a touchdown pass yet?
Really?
Did not.
I heard they're making a change at quarterback, or they were maybe opening it back up or whatever with Riley Leonard.
Just need to go to the
Mike Wright got benched at Northwestern, by the way, which we all knew that was going to happen. But I hear Notre Dame is opening it back up. So
just run the triple option, man. Just don't throw. Just always run the ball.
Yeah. Well, my best of the weekend are both Arkansas related. How about that?
All right.
One, I tweeted about this, but I was watching Sunday Night Football last night, and I was simply baffled by how many Razorbacks were on the screen. Bo Limmer got thrown into the Rams, had just like all kinds of offensive line issues week one. They had their left tackle go out. Their right tackle got banged up. I think they also had a guard who may have been like hurt coming into the game or whatever. Bo Limmer ends up snapping the ball in his pro debut. And he played like, I don't know how many snaps he played, like over like a good bit, like almost the entire second half. So that's awesome. I know somebody was mentioning how Cam Little made his first career field goal, 53 yards, even though his team blew a huge lead. But yeah, on the Detroit side, yeah, obviously Frank Ragnow playing for the Lions. Dan Skipper, they would use him as like their heavy package. When it'd be 3rd and 1, they'd bring in like an extra tackle, and Dan Skipper would get in there. I feel like there's another. Oh, Jake Bates.
Yeah.
Lions kicker. Clutch Gene sends it to overtime. Shout out to Detroit for covering that spread, 5.5, by the way. Crazy that they covered that spread in a game they were down by 3 like the entire fourth quarter. And it was like, oh, are they going to win by 4, win by 3, lose by 3? Oh, we're going to overtime. They win by 6. It was crazy how it worked out that way. And Cam Curl is a starting safety for the Rams too. I wanted to mention him. Out there making some plays. Pretty nice to see. My other best of the weekend, we got to go to the Diamond, boys. Arkansas baseball. I got our first official look at Arkansas baseball. I'm not going to give a full rundown. I'm not going to do a whole thing because I know nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about how the scrimmage went. I'm just going to leave you with one name. Brent Iredale is that guy. He is the Vahiva Aloy of this offseason, where every time I talk to you, John and Curtis, after I'd come back from Bahama, I'll be like, dude, this Hawaiian shortstop's the man. I feel good about that. Brent Iredale is that guy. He had 4 hits this weekend in the 2 games, 3 home runs and an opposite field double, stole third base off of a pitcher. Like I don't know what he's doing in college. Like he hit 25 home runs in the JUCO level last year, but he's just one of those dudes that like, he reminds me of Caleb Cali a little bit, but he's more, believe it or not, more toolsy than Caleb Cali. And you saw how good that guy was at Arkansas. He's even better than that. Brent Iredale is about to be the best player in the Arkansas lineup. I've seen enough. 2 games worth.
Well, I'm going to call out Andrew, and even though it's probably going to come back and bite him, but when we were hanging out with our some of our fans there at Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater after our post game, Andrew's like, "Hey, this team's making the World Series." He said it to him. So.
I cannot believe that you went there after what we just witnessed.
Yeah, it's like that was.
I do respect it.
After baseball season, after that game, it's like, yeah, Arkansas, they got a lot of good things going for them. They'll be all right.
Law of averages, dude. Like it's been long enough. It's been 2 years since they've been to the freaking World Series. Like, I mean, geez, we're gonna make it 3 years in a row they don't go to the World Series. Like, what is this, a poverty program? They're going to the World Series. Come on. And I mean, but seriously, they obviously have the pieces to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the pitching staff is every bit as deeper than it was last year, even though they don't have a Hagen Smith. The lineup is actually, I mean, they hit 11 home runs in 6 innings in the first scrimmage. They're going to the World Series. Let's just be real.
The pitching staff is deeper than it's ever been. They gave up 11 home runs in 6 innings. And
hey, well, that's what's funny about it is like, you could say, oh, Brent Iredale, well, who'd he hit these off of? Gabe Gackel is who he hit them off of. Gabe Gackel gave up 3 home runs in the first inning.
I cannot believe that. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he will be fine. It'll be fine. Zach Root, who's the guy I've been hyping up all offseason, he's probably going to be their Friday night starter. He gave up a home run to Vahiva Aloy. Nobody can escape the wrath of the Hawaiian. Also, there's a French dude on the team.
Really?
French Canadian MFer named Charles Devoyon.
Love that.
Okay. Yeah, hearing Bubba Carpenter saying that on the radio broadcast is going to be my favorite thing.
He's going to just be like, Babylon.
Yeah, just roll with it, man. So, yeah, all right. Well, worst of the weekend for me, I actually have a lot more of these because I just was pissed all weekend. But sticking with the college football theme, teams in the SEC just that did not look good at all. And like Auburn, the way that they looked against Cal at home, I am not saying Arkansas is going to beat Auburn. I'm not, but like I'm sorry, you got to win that game if you're Auburn, if you're making the strides and they were down the entire game. So like they did not look good. You also had LSU. You ended up winning, but they struggled with nickels a little bit. That it wasn't a surefire thing, but they didn't look good. But the one to me that was without question the worst was the Kentucky Wildcats.
What were they doing?
That was a disaster. You're playing a South Carolina team that's not good. South Carolina is not good, and you get them at home, and you lose 31-6. That is horrendous. Like if that was Georgia, that's would have been like the score I would have felt like if you played Georgia, like 31-6. But South Carolina getting smoked at home, not a good start for the Wildcats over there in Big Blue Nation.
Kentucky completed 6 passes the entire game against South Carolina. 6.
Gross.
That is absolutely nuts to me. You could even throw Alabama on that list because they win this game against South Florida 42-16. It was 21-16 with 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then it just, they just kind of did their thing. But yeah, just that was wild, man. I would probably add Prime and Shadur and Colorado to that. Love that they just got punked at Nebraska. That's kind of funny to me, but that just feels like from the outside looking in, it just feels volatile, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just something is not right about all that. And I know Paul Feinbaum was teeing off saying he thinks Prime's going to get the heck out of there after this year, especially when his kids are gone, and Travis Hunter. But I kind of believe it. That's just that is what seemed to be so cool and so exciting for the first 3 or 4 weeks of last season or whatever. Man, it just feels like it's on the brink of disaster. I would not be surprised at all if they lose to Colorado State this weekend.
Well, and also to add to that, this is the thing that's also going out of a report, but reportedly, Deion Sanders told the Colorado band that they can't play the fight song after Shadur Sanders scores a touchdown because the stadium PA is going to blare his rap song, his son's rap song, when he scores a touchdown. So he told him, you can play the fight song when anyone else scores, but when my son scores, shut up because they're going to play his rap song over the loudspeakers.
No way.
It's a joke. No, and like that's an actual report. That's not just like
my goodness,
speculation.
Man.
Like that's the type of stuff where it's, again, if you like Prime, if you like what he's done or whatever, that's fine. But like that's the type of stuff where I'm like, no, that's when you're not serious about this, dude. This is not just something that's, an AAU team or, a D3 school. Like you're proven to everybody why you won't make it as a big time D1 Power 5 coach, right? With stuff like that. So yeah, I saw that report. I was like, dude, come on, man.
That's some Bishop Sycamore stuff, huh?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But yeah, that's it for my worst.
Curtis, did you give was your worst Colorado?
I was Colorado. Yeah, I mean, I had Kentucky football on there too, so I had to expand on that a little bit. But yeah, them in Colorado. Also, I did just randomly notice that the CEO of Waffle House passed away. He's only 58.
Huh.
That's sad. That
wow,
I can add that to the
only
worst
58.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yep, I know what I'm gonna be eating late night tonight after the little Leroy.
That's right.
You and Gus Malzahn.
Unless we get another one of those charcuterie boards, it's like the size of a small boat.
Big old pan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take. I'm sure they'll let us take it with us, the charcuterie, because we're not gonna eat it all. We'll just take the whole platter, the whole boat, and bring it with us.
Well, I always view the best and worst through the most selfish lens I can. I just use it as my opportunity to touch on things that are going on in my life that I care about. So I'll wait until next week to talk about Sean O'Malley's bantamweight title defense. But before I touch on mine though, I did want to talk about this. The Nebraska quarterback. Y'all familiar with this cat? That's like doing a Mahomes cosplay?
No.
I guess not.
Dude, look up. Okay, just Google the guy. Dylan Raiola, I believe is his name. He looks exactly like Patrick Mahomes. Like he's made his whole look. He's got the same haircut. He's similar body types. He looks just like him, and he's like copying all of Mahomes' mannerisms. Now, he is a 5-star quarterback who went to Nebraska and is starting as a freshman, and he's off to a pretty good start. Obviously, they got a big win this weekend, so he's a good player. Probably going to be a prospect and all that, but he is doing such a Mahomes impression that it's like embarrassing for me. He even does like Mahomes' pregame routine where he goes and does his like a little prayer, kneel down, and then yells in the end zone. Like he does all of it. And he's like doing all the weird, like no looks and warm ups. He's trying so hard to be, and it's like embarrassing. And I'm like, bro, you're too good to be doing that. If you were a high school quarterback where it's like, hey, high school freshman trying to be Mahomes, like whatever, he's a 5-star prospect. Like take yourself seriously, dude. Like have some respect. But no, that's not even my worst of the week. Guys, my worst of the week. Y'all ready for this? The LSU Tigers have lost a very important piece on their defensive line. Nose tackle Jacobian Guillory tore his Achilles, is out for the year. Why is this my worst of the week? He went to a beautiful high school, Alexandria Senior High. I went to the same church as this kid. His name's Jacobian Guillory, and he's a fifth-year senior, like kind of a fringe draft prospect. So, and he'd kind of worked his way up to where he's like kind of a huge piece for LSU on their D-line. He's starting. I was expecting to have a great year, be a huge fixture for them, and maybe play his way into like 6th, 7th round pick type of thing. Tears his Achilles, so he's out for the year. It really bummed me out when I saw this. It really bummed me out because it's like not only now is he not going to be able to play his senior year, but it's going to be really tough to get drafted when you're not able to go to all the workouts and all that stuff. But I did want to tell a funny story because when I was a senior in high school, we went to the same youth like church Wednesday night thing. And they would always bring people up on stage to do stuff. Where are you from? What's your name? Favorite, whatever. And they bring this kid up, and he's in 7th grade. And they were like, what's your name? He's like, Jacoby. And they're like, where do you go to school? And he was like, Bray Middle School. He's like 6'3", 290. And I'm like, what? He goes to Bray. He's in 7th grade, bro. It was crazy. But so it's been cool to watch him grow up, even though he was already a monster. And it really bummed me out that like he's not going to be able to play his senior year. But Arkansas should be able to attack the interior of LSU's D-line. So there's good news for Arkansas fans.
Right.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, I'm sure that they'll find a way to make his backup wherever he was be looking like no, and his name just escaped me. Who's the Nebraska defensive lineman? Ndamukong Suh. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna make him look like him. So
a lot of Nebraska talk on Best of the Worst.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you real quick about Dylan Raiola or whatever. Does he sound like a hybrid of like Kermit the Frog and Al Michaels and Jeff Long mixed into
Kenny
one?
Powers.
Yeah,
I've never heard him talk, frankly, but I heard that he like tried to like someone asked him about the Mahomes thing, and he tried to act like he didn't know what they were talking about. And I'm like, all right, get out of here.
Come on, guy.
Yeah.
I think he went to Nebraska just because their uniforms look pretty close to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I don't know how far Lincoln is from Kansas City, but it's. I feel like it's probably closer than what most people think. So. All right, so there you have it. There's the best and worst of the weekend from us, sponsored by Leroy Lounge here on Dixon Street, Fayetteville. We're going to be out there tonight, folks, 6 p.m., starting the live stream, and we're going to gear you up right into Monday Night Football. So it's going to be a good time, so come on out and see us, and we're going to be hanging out. And, just because I had somebody ask me, they're like, so what do you guys going to do another show there? It's like, well, it's more of just like literally just us hanging out, like, and talking and talking about stuff and answering your questions and getting into chat and hanging out with people. So it's truly that. So
everyone in the chat, I'm sure some of you are in Fayetteville. Why would you not show up to this? Like, what are you going to be doing on Monday night that's going to be better than watching Monday Night Football with your 3 favorite folks? Yeah. Your 3 pals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also we put Zach on the stream last week whenever he pulled up, so it's like you could probably. I said on Twitter, I was like, Curtis will teach you how to shoot a jumper. He'll critique your jump shot, get your elbow tight, get you ready to roll. Why not pull up?
Yeah. We will actually like put you on camera and probably embarrass you and shame you for things that you do. So
but don't worry, we embarrassed ourselves plenty there last week. So
Oh yeah.
I'm dressing better this time. I'm wearing actual athletic attire. I might even wear like the leg sleeves that everyone wears.
Yeah, Danger's going to be coming in there looking like Baker Mayfield, with
shooter sleeve.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'm ready for it. Just as long as if you're one of those people that bring in your own clubs for the golf simulator. You're a character. I'll say that. You're a character. But hey, appreciate everybody listening and watching into Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to check out all of our great written content on InsideArkansas.com, keeping you up to date on everything going on there. And we're still going to be pumping out the content, having a lot of fun, and this is going to be a great week. And a reminder, come to the Leroy tonight on Dixon Street starting at 6 p.m. to hang out with us. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. We'll see you all at 6 p.m. tonight at the Leroy on Dixon Street. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.